Good day, grade 9 learners. Welcome to today's Natural Sciences lesson. My name is Pathuchetso Singo, and in today's lesson, this lesson has been brought to you proudly by the Gauteng Department of Education. In today's lesson, we're going to be learning under the knowledge area, life and living. This constitutes 80 marks in your exam. The topic is digestive system, and the subtopic, which is our main area of focus for today's lesson, is healthy diet. Let's look at today's objectives. So these are the goals that we wish to achieve by the end of today's lesson. By the end of today's lesson, you should be able to describe the nutrients required for a healthy diet, explain the function of carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, minerals, fiber, fats and oils in the diet, explain which foods contain carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, minerals, fiber, fats and oils in the diet. Describe an unhealthy diet. All this was sourced from the KEPS document on page 61. Let's start off with pre-knowledge. This is what we learned prior to today's lesson. Prior to today's lesson, we learned about the body systems, in particular, the digestive system. So let's do a baseline assessment to remind each other what we learned prior to today's lesson. Right, this is our baseline assessment. Study the diagram below and answer the questions that follow. Here's the diagram. I'm going to give you some time to answer the question. So here's the question. Supply labels for the parts A, B, and D. This question is worth 3 marks, which means the label is worth a mark each. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to answer this question. Alright, grade 9s, let's answer the question together. Supply labels for the parts labeled A, B, and D. Here's the solution. So part A is the mouth. Part B is the esophagus. So it runs all the way down this direction. And then part D is the stomach. I hope you got that correct. You can also send in your answers to our question line on 082-760-2630. Keep sending those pictures and solutions as well. The second question in our baseline assessment was supposed to study the diagram below. There is the diagram and there is the question. The question reads, State the process that takes place in parts labeled A, D, F, and G. This question is with 4 marks, meaning each label is with a mark. So I'm going to give you another 2 minutes to answer this question. Don't forget to send in your solutions to 082 760 2630. Well, I'm sure you're done now. Let's answer the question together. So part A, what happens at part A? Part A is the mouth. The process of ingestion. That's when you put food in your mouth, chew and swallow. What about part D? Part D is the stomach. What happens at part D? Digestion. Part F, that is a large intestine. What happens there? There is absorption. And part G, that is the anus. What happens there? There is the process of egestion. Okay, right. I'm sure we all got those answers, and please do send through your answers and any question that you may have. Let's look at terminology. These are important terms that we need to learn in order for us to fully understand the lesson. Our first term is healthy diet. What is a healthy diet? A healthy diet is a healthy eating plan that contains a balance of all the necessary nutrients required for growth. The second term is balanced diet. What is a balanced diet? A balanced diet is a diet that contains adequate amounts of all the necessary nutrients from all the food groups required for a healthy growth. And malnutrition being our third term. Malnutrition is a condition resulting from the lack of nutrients that are required for healthy growth. Carbohydrates. What are carbohydrates? These are found in sugars and in starch, and they are the main source of energy for the body. Remember, we need energy for all kinds of activities. Let's look at some more terms. Fats and oils. Fats and oils are organic substances that help with the absorption of vitamins. They form part of the cell membranes. They are stored as reserve energy. They help for insulating. So you find them under your skin. You find your fats under your skin. They help in insulation and keeping us warm during those cold days, and they protect organs such as the eyes and kidneys. So if you've ever seen the inside maybe of a chicken or a goat, you'll find some fat around organs such as the heart. You also find fat around maybe the gizzard. So that fat is very important. It's actually protecting that organ. Vitamins. What are vitamins? Vitamins have a different function. So there's different vitamins with different functions. So vitamin A is for eyesight. Vitamin C is important for the immune system, and vitamin E protects cells. Let's move on to some more terms. Minerals. So every mineral, just like vitamins, has a different function in the body. So calcium is for strong bones and teeth, and then iron is needed for the production of healthy red blood cells. And then fiber. Fiber promotes the movement of food through the alimentary canal, and it promotes very good bowel movements. Let's start on the main body of our lesson, healthy diet. I've picked a picture here that has different kinds of foods that are all necessary for a healthy diet. Remember, we said a healthy diet has to have all of the necessary nutrients that will help us for healthy growth. So let us begin. We get our energy from the food we eat because this food has the nutrients that help to nourish our bodies. And a healthy diet has to have a balance of the different nutrients. So I've got a plate here. Let's look at this plate and see what kinds of food we have on this plate. Then we can move on to find out which nutrients are found in which foods. Right, so our plate here, we have bread, we have meat in the form of chicken, we have wors here, we have beef, we have two kinds of salads. Oh, there's a third one, and there's some butternut, and we have chakalaka. So now, is this a healthy meal? Let's find out as we move on to the next part of our lesson. So, proteins are one of the nutrients that are required to say a diet is a healthy diet. So what are they for? So proteins are for growth and tissue repair. So you need those proteins for growth and tissue repair. Imagine a situation where you're playing on the soccer field and you bruise your knee. Remember, that bruise has to be repaired. So we need some proteins for that. Where do we find proteins? So we can find proteins in milk, fish, eggs, meat, different kinds of meat. You've got your red meat, where you have beef, mutton, you've got your white meat, chicken, and we can also find it in cheese. So I have a diagram here with the different kinds of food that I've been talking about. So there's eggs, lentils for your vegetarians, beans, milk, red meat, fish, and nuts. We also have soya, cheese, and avocado. So we find proteins in these foods. So if you want your healthy dose of proteins, just try out some of these foods. Our next nutrient is carbohydrates. These are the main source of energy, and we find them in foods such as pasta, rice, potatoes, and maize. I also have a picture here to show you the foods I'm talking about. So we have potatoes, there's bread, there's rice, there's maize. We also have pasta amongst other foods. So we get our carbohydrates from these types of foods. So for you to get that energy, for you to wake up in the morning, walk to school, get to school, and learn and understand everything that is being taught, you need energy. So make sure you add carbohydrates to your diet. Next, we have fats and oils. I know there's a misconception that fats are bad for you, but fats are actually important in the diet. Why is that so? There are many reasons why. They help us absorb vitamins. They form parts of cell membranes. Remember when we were learning about the cells? Yes, fats and oils form part of that cell membrane. They are also used as an energy storage. Remember we get our energy from carbohydrates. So energy can also be stored as fats in the body. Fats also keep us warm. We have a layer of fat under our skin to keep us warm. And they protect our organs against damage. Remember when I was talking about if you've seen the inside of a chicken or a goat and you find fat deposits around the heart, you find fat deposits around the kidneys or the eyes. That is a very, very functional type of fat that is protecting that particular organ. Vitamins. Let's talk about vitamins. Vitamins are needed in small amount and each vitamin has a different function. If you look at my picture here, we've got vitamin A, the B's, C, D, K, P, E, F, right? All these vitamins have different functions, but for today's lesson, we're going to focus on vitamin A, C, and E amongst the different vitamins. Let's start off with vitamin A. Vitamin A is very important, and I'm saying this because it's important for your eyesight. I'm sure now most of you are giggling and wondering why I wear glasses. I do eat my carrots. So we find vitamin A in carrots and chicken liver. So I have some pictures here of the different kinds of foods that contain these vitamins. Okay, so vitamin A, we've got your carrot there, we've got your liver and the other different kinds of fruits. So remember, we need vitamins in small amounts. Don't go around eating a bag of carrots. Okay. Next, vitamin C. It's very important for a healthy immune system, and we find it in different kinds of fruits, and we also find it in tomatoes. Here is a picture of the different fruits where we can find a healthy dose of vitamin C. We find them in pineapples, grapefruit, lemon, orange, mango, papaya. Ooh, we've got a kiwi there as well. And those tomatoes that I was talking about, there are a couple of them in there. And we also have peppers and strawberries. So we find vitamin C in a vast number of fruits. Okay, if you can't find a pineapple, get yourself an orange. If you cannot find an orange, get yourself a lemon. Let's move on. Vitamin E is another very, very important vitamin. It helps to protect cells, and we find it in spinach and in eggs. So when they make a meal with spinach for you, eat it because you'll be benefiting. There are some fruits that have vitamin A. We mentioned spinach and eggs. We also have nuts there. There are lentils and seeds, and we have prawns as well. So there are different sources of vitamin E. It's not strictly two, which is the spinach and the eggs. You can find your vitamins from there. Next, let's move on to minerals. Minerals are also needed, and they're also needed in small amounts as well. So I have a picture with me here showing the different number of minerals that are actually found in the food that we eat. Yes, so today we'll focus on two important ones, calcium and iron. Right, let's move on and see what we benefit from eating calcium. So calcium is needed for strong bones and teeth. So to make sure that your bones are very strong, that you don't break them every time you fall, or to make sure that your teeth are very strong and that they don't break every time you chew a bone. So where do we find calcium? We find calcium in foods such as milk, and it helps prevent diseases like osteoporosis. There's a picture, a nice glass of milk. So when they offer you pap and milk at home, eat it, you are benefiting from that milk. And when they say drink a glass of water, drink it, you are benefiting. Iron is another very important mineral. Iron is needed in the blood where it helps produce healthy red blood cells, and we find it in foods such as liver and spinach. There is our liver, and we also have some other foods where we can get a healthy dose of iron. So it's not only limited to the two. So make sure you note that down. Make sure you note that down. Okay. Next, let's talk about fiber. Fiber is very, very, very important. Why do I say so? It is important because it helps move food through the body and helps you keep going to the toilet to do your number 2 regularly. Remember, for you to say you're regular, you have to go to the bathroom and do your number 2 more than 3 times per week. So if you eat a healthy dose of fiber, then you know you are not constipated. So where do we find fiber? We find fiber in foods like bread. What kind of bread? That whole wheat bread, that brown colored bread. So next time they send you to buy bread at home, why don't you suggest to buy your whole wheat bread instead of what? It's packed with loads of fiber, and this fiber helps you to do your number 2. Where else do we find fiber? We find fiber in cereal and vegetables. So there's a loaf of bread, and then we have cereals there that have a lot of fiber in them. Next, I want to talk about water. Water is not a type of food, but it is very, very important in the digestive system because it helps transport minerals from the alimentary canal to the different cells where they should be, and they should be doing their work. And it helps us when we are passing out wastes. So water is very important. So make sure you get your 1.5 liter or your 2 liters of water per day. It is very, very important. Let's do an activity to figure out what we've understood from this lesson. The table shows the food eaten at 3 different meals. Let's look at the table. So we have a kosher meal, a halal meal, and a traditional South African meal. Let's see what was eaten at the kosher meal. There was egg, bread, fish, chicken soup, chicken, potatoes, asparagus. And then for the halal meal, we had vegetable soup, whole wheat bread, chicken, salad, and yogurt. And then for the traditional South African meal, we have pap, spinach, beef stew, and sour milk. So let's see what the question is saying. So the question reads, list the foods in each meal and state whether each contains carbohydrates, vitamins, minerals, proteins, or fats and oils. So for you to list which minerals or which nutrients are contained in each of these foods, I'm going to give you 5 minutes. I hope you sent your answers through to 082-760-2630. We'll be waiting for those solutions. Let's read the question again and then we will see my solutions. The table shows the food eaten at different meals. So we had a kosher meal, a halal meal, and a traditional South African meal. So for the kosher meal, the group, let's hope it's a group of people, they were served egg, bread, fish, chicken soup, chicken, potatoes, and asparagus. And the halal meal had vegetable soup, whole wheat bread, chicken, salad, and yogurt. And the South African meal had pap, spinach, beef stew, and sour milk. So the question required us to list the foods in each meal and state whether each contains the following nutrients. These are the nutrients we're looking for. We are looking for carbohydrates, vitamins, minerals, fats and oils, proteins. Let's look at the solutions. Okay, so here is the solution. Note this down. I hope you grab a pen and a paper so that you note this down as well, in case you got any of them wrong. So egg. Let's start off with the kosher meal. Egg. Which nutrient do we find in eggs? I wrote protein, so we do find proteins in eggs. What about bread? Which nutrient do we find in bread? We find carbohydrates. Fish. Which nutrient do we find in fish? We find proteins. What about chicken soup? Which nutrient do we find in chicken soup? We find proteins. And what about chicken? Which nutrient do we find in chicken? Proteins. They also had potatoes in the kosher meal. Which nutrient do we find in potatoes? Carbohydrates. They also ate asparagus. Asparagus is a type of vegetable. What do we find in asparagus? We find vitamins as well as fiber. So these are the nutrients that were in the kosher meal. We had proteins, quite a number of proteins, 1, 2, 3, 4. We also had carbohydrates, 2 kinds, bread and potatoes, and we also had vitamins and fiber. Can you say this is a balanced meal? Let's move on to the halal meal. Which nutrients do we find in the halal meal? So we had vegetable soup. We find vitamins in the vegetable soup. We also had whole wheat bread. So what do we find in whole wheat bread? There's actually 2. There is carbohydrates and fiber. And then chicken. Which nutrient do we find in chicken? We have proteins. And then salad. Which nutrients do you find in a salad? There are different kinds of salad. You have your green salad, French salad, Greek salad, coleslaw. So we find fiber and vitamins because they are mainly made from vegetables. And then they had yogurt. What do we find? Remember, yogurt is made from dairy products. What do we find in dairy products? We find proteins. Let's move on to the traditional South African meal. We had pap. Which nutrient is found in pap? Yes, if you wrote carbohydrates, you were correct. And which nutrient do we find in spinach? We find minerals, vitamins, and fiber. Remember, we said spinach is rich in vitamins. Spinach is also rich in iron. And we also find fiber. You see those twigs? And the chewiness of the spinach, that is the fiber that helps you with your digestive system. And then we also had beef stew. Which nutrient do we find in beef stew? We find proteins. And then we also had sour milk, amas. Which nutrient do we find in sour milk? We find protein. So these are the different nutrients that we found in the different constituents of the meals, the kosher meal, the halal meal, and the traditional South African meal. Right, now what I want us to do is move on. Okay, let's move on. Next, classify the different meals into the different meal groups. So we want to classify the different meals into the different meal groups. So I'll take you back to the slide. Right, so let's classify these different meals into the different meal groups. And I'm going to give you 3 minutes to do that.
Excellent. Excellence is a habit. Excellence is a quality you have, a quality I have. It's a quality we have when we honor what is true to us. Yes, we are gifted differently. uNkulunkulu akasinanga ngokufana. Excellence is striving for your best. Whenever you have a particular project, test, homework, uzibuze, ask yourself, is this my best? Can I put in more effort? Excellence is striving to be in the top 1% of the area in which you are gifted. And so I challenge you, in every single thing that you do, in every single area that you're gifted in, whether it's sports, it's academic, ucula, whatever that gift is, strive for excellence.
Right, we need to classify the different foods into different food groups. We should say whether it is meat, or it is a vegetable, or it is a dairy product. So we're going to go back to that table that I showed you initially, and then we classify these different foods. Make sure you write on your book, get a pen and paper, write on your book, and then take a picture of your answer and send it to our number, which is 082 760-2630. So here's the table once again. Let's look at the solutions together. Right, so we have meal group, kosher meal, halal meal, and the traditional meal. So these are the different kinds of foods that we found in the different meals. So let's classify them into their different meal groups. So we've got meat, vegetable, fats and oils, and dairy products. So for the kosher meal, we had fish, chicken, and chicken soup. Where do we classify those? We'll put them under meat. And then we also had asparagus and potatoes. Where do we classify those? Under vegetables. In as much as potatoes do give us, or they are a source of carbohydrates, they are called vegetables. And then the halal meal. Now, we had chicken soup and chicken. Those are classified as meat. And we had vegetable soup. So it's a soup that has vegetables in it. We will classify it under vegetables. And then for our traditional meal, we had beef stew. We'll classify that under meat. So beef is actually a red meat and it falls under the food group meat. And then we had spinach. Spinach is a vegetable. And we also had sour milk. So we'll classify it under dairy products. So those are the different food groups that we had. Let's move on to unhealthy diet. So we have learned what makes up a healthy diet. Let's learn about what makes up an unhealthy diet. So an unhealthy diet consists of foods with additives and eating too much fast food. What do I mean by additives? If you have too much salt in your food, that is very, very unhealthy. Okay, let's look at this picture here. This picture is a picture that has different kinds of fast foods that are unhealthy. They have too much salt, too much oil. So these are the unhealthy foods. We've got your pizza, your slab chips, we've got burgers as well. So these are unhealthy foods. Let's move on to effects of an unhealthy diet. So what does eating these unhealthy foods do to us? What are their effects? So poor eating includes under eating, that is eating one meal a day. You should make sure you eat your 3 meals a day, your breakfast, your lunch, and your supper. So under eating is a poor eating habit. Overeating is also a poor eating habit where you're overeating, you're eating 10 meals a day. That is overeating. And then also not having enough of the healthy foods we need each day. What are these healthy foods? It's those foods that have carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, fats and oils, your minerals, your water. Those are the foods that have all those nutrients that we have been talking about. And also, a poor eating habit can be consuming too many types of foods and drink, your fast food, mixing it all up. And these foods usually have less nutrients. So that is a very poor eating habit. So these eating habits can affect our nutrient intake. So we need energy from our carbohydrates. We need proteins. We also need essential fatty acids. We need vitamins. We need minerals. And we need fiber and fluid. Fluid being your water. And poor nutrition can impair our daily health and well-being and our ability to lead a healthy and enjoyable life. What do I mean by that? I mean, if you have a poor eating habit or you have a poor diet, you won't have as much energy as you do when you're eating a good healthy diet. That means you feel tired all the time. You can't really concentrate in class, and you're always feeling lazy and sluggish with no appetite. Those are the results from an unhealthy diet. Okay, so let's compare the healthy diet and the unhealthy diet. How are we going to do that? Let's help this young lady, Siho, pick a meal, a healthy meal for lunch. So Tsihu needs to pick a meal, a healthy meal for lunch. Let's help her. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to pick from these different foods what Tsihu can have for her lunch. Make sure it's healthy. I hope you send through suggestions for meals that Tsihu can have for her lunch. So we want her to have a healthy lunch. So let's check on this side. What do we have on this side? We have chips, crisps, there are sweets, there's a slice of cake, there's coffee, sugar, and a burger. And there's also an energy drink. Is that healthy for Tsihu? No, I don't think so. Let's check on the other side. What does Tsihu have on this side? There's fish, there's chicken, yogurt, eggs, spinach, some fruits there. That's grapes, a carrot, an apple, water, and orange juice. So if Tsihu wants a meal, something light for lunch, what can she have? Oh, we can pick from this side. Let's pick from that side. So Tsihu needs water. Remember, we said water is very good for the movement of foods along our alimentary canal and the movement of minerals and nutrients into the cells. So we have a bottle of water for Tsihu there. We also have spinach. It's very healthy vegetable with fiber, and there's a mineral there, iron. Tsihu can also have chicken. She can also have grapes as well. So Tsihu should pick from this side so that she has her healthy meal. Let's move on. Let's do an activity. So below is a table with descriptions of several health issues relating to poor diet. So there is the table there. So here on this column we have the name of the disease, which is the health issue, the description of the disease, and here we're supposed to fill in what does this person have a deficiency or surplus of in their diet. So we're supposed to mention the nutrient that this person is lacking. The deficiency of this nutrient is what is causing this disease. Remember when we're defining malnutrition. So in instances where you have a lack of a certain nutrient, you can suffer from a disease. So I'm just going to give you 5 minutes to fill in these gaps and tell us which nutrients are missing. Don't forget to send your responses to 082 760 2630. Okay, let's do the solutions together. Here's the next slide. So let's start off with health issue number 1, which is constipation. Here's the description of constipation. So the person may have hard stools and have difficulty and pain when passing stools. So what does this person need in their diet, or what is missing from their diet? Okay, so I have up here fiber and water. So this person has to add water and fiber into their diet so that they can relieve themselves of this constipation. Let's look at health issue number 2. Osteoporosis. So osteoporosis is a disease that is common in older women, so where the bones become fragile and likely to break. So this person, what do they need to add onto their diet so that the bones become stronger? Okay, the person needs to add calcium to their diet. Remember the foods that have calcium in them? Our milk. And then health issue number 3, which is anemia. So anemia is a condition of the blood where there are not enough healthy red blood cells. So what does this person need to add to their diet so that there is production of more red blood cells? They have to add iron. You get your iron in spinach, you get it in your liver. Remember, the function of iron is to make sure that there is a healthy production of red blood cells. Those are very important cells because they help to carry oxygen around the body. Let's move on. Okay, so we have reached the end of our lesson, and I've been checking WhatsApp and noticing that there are no WhatsApp questions, so I'm going to go on to the summary. Let's summarize our lesson. Let's recap and remind ourselves what we learned in today's lesson. We learned that we need energy from the food we eat because food contains good nutrients that nourish our bodies. Right, I've compiled a table of the different nutrients that we need, their functions, and the types of food where we can find those nutrients. I hope you have your pen and pencil so that you note them down. We need carbohydrates in our diet. What is the function of carbohydrates? Carbohydrates are very, very, very important because they are a source of energy. We need energy to do each and every activity that we do throughout the day. The activities that we do and activities that are happening within our bodies, we need energy for that. So where can we access carbohydrates? From pasta, that's your macaroni, your spaghetti, you can get carbohydrates from there. Your rice, maize. Remember, Millie Meal is from maize, so you get your carbohydrates from pap, potatoes, and bread. So you get your good supply of carbohydrates from these foods. Proteins. We also need proteins for our diet to be balanced and healthy. What do proteins do? Proteins are for growth. We grade 9s, we're still young, we still have a long way to grow. So for us to grow, we need proteins. What else do proteins do? They repair cells. Remember when I gave you the example of bruising your knee? So to mend that knee, we need proteins because they help repair cells. Where can we find proteins? We find proteins in fish, eggs, milk, chicken, beef, nuts, yogurt, and cheese. We don't only find proteins in meat. That's why I included all other foods that are not meat. For you vegetarians out there, you can also have beans, your soya, and your lentils. Fats and oils. Fats and oils are very, very important because they help the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins. They form part of the cell membrane and they are stored as reserve energy sources. They help in insulating the skin on those cold days and they protect your organs, your eyes, and your kidneys. Where can we find fats and oils? We find them in oil, nuts, butter and margarine. Next part of the table, vitamins. We've got vitamin A for good eyesight, vitamin C for a healthy immune system, and vitamin E to protect our cells. Where do we find these foods? We find them in carrots and liver. You can get your good dose of vitamin A. In fruits and vegetables, you get your good dose of vitamin C. And vitamin E, you find it in your spinach, eggs, and avocado. And then minerals. Our two important minerals that we learned about today, calcium and iron. Calcium is for strong bones and teeth, and iron is for the production of red blood cells. Where do we find calcium? We find it in milk, cheese, and eggs. And we also have spinach and liver for your iron. All right. Thank you. Next, fiber. Fiber promotes the movement of food along the digestive system and prevents constipation. So where can we find fiber? Whole wheat bread, cereals, fruits, and vegetables. Water is an important part of our diet. It's not a food, but it is important. Water transports nutrients around the body to where they need to be, and it helps the flushing out of waste products and helps with digestion. Very, very important. All right. Remember, Tsiho, always pick the healthy diet over an unhealthy diet. Know which foods contain which healthy nutrients and which ones don't, so that you avoid the effects of an unhealthy diet. I saw you didn't send me any questions, but do feel free to send questions even after the lesson. The number is there on the screen. Remember to click on complete and continue at the bottom of your screen. And thank you very much. Remember, keep social distance, sanitize, and wear a mask. Until next time, bye-bye.